What's up? Welcome to this industry insider interview here on the FiveTwenty Collective Podcast. Big shout out to the bookkeeper 24/7. Check them out at tbk247.com now, and they are sponsoring this interview. You know what it is, guys. Daryl and the team doing a lot of things over there at the bookkeeper 24/7 for the culture and for God. So go and support them and check out everything at tbk247.com. Joining me right now on the FiveTwenty Collective phone line is my dude. You know what it is, producer extraordinaire. Man, we're just gonna get into it, man, because they should know, and if they don't know, they better learn about it. He's bringing the drums in. What's up, Poetics?
What's up, bro? I'm always cracking up when people do intros, and they're like, super producer extraordinaire. And I'm just like, man.
Man, you know what's up, though. You know what's up, man. Like, you've been working, man, and you can't deny, you know, what you've been able to accomplish. You know, you and I were talking about how you were actually on the very first episode of our podcast, you know, and we've always got love for you for supporting us, you know, right out the gate, man. And to see what you've been able to do, you know, because that's 3 years ago now. It's crazy. And
yeah,
and your growth in that time, man. Because, like, you know, at that point, I mean, you were busy and you were, you know, producing for a lot of the independent artists in the Christian hip hop space, right? But, and that's not to say that you're not still, you know, putting out records for those guys and stuff, but you have grown so much further, man. You've leveled up so much. You look at just your like latest project with Canon, right?
Yeah.
And so that right there speaks a lot, man. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was cool because it was definitely a lot of stuff coming full circle, because me and Canon had been friends since before I was even producing. I was an intern at RMG a long time ago, and then I started producing, and he kind of took me under his wing, and then for it to come full circle to where we weren't just like doing a song together, it was an actual project, and he let me, like, he was involved, but he let me kind of take liberties when it came to the sound of the project and what direction to go with stuff. And it was cool. It was we had a lot of goals for it, and when it came to like the sound and direction, we really wanted it to feel like a mixtape. So we did like a lot of little different chops and stuff, like on the first song, Bricks, we had Derek on there doing like almost like a DJ drama style sample, like where we had him talking about RMG and stuff, and then we had like a DJ chopped up outro on Loco, and it was just kind of all over the place, but still like cohesive. So yeah, it was great, and it was even more awesome because it wasn't with like some random guy. It was like an actual friend of mine. So
Right. Well,
it was a good experience.
Yeah, man. And you talked about Derek being on the project also. I mean, he's someone that you've been working with as well, right?
Yeah. I've known Derek just as long as Canon. We haven't worked as much, but it's definitely a mutual respect and friendship. But that's the way I try to work. Like, I'm friends with a lot of people that I don't even work with that much, just because I try to prioritize that over business relationships.
Right. Definitely.
And that was cool because the way it worked was, so the song Bricks used to be called Mosh Pit.
Okay.
And then like a month before the project release, we had to revamp the song because KV actually released a song called Worship in the Mosh Pit.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh crap, well now we can't release this because everyone's gonna like call out like, oh, they just released a song called Mosh Pit, they're biting KB or something like that, even though we had made the song like 6 months before. But so yeah, we had to like completely redo the song, and then when we were doing it, we were actually working on a different project, and we were there with Derek and a bunch of other producers and stuff in Florida. So I told Cannon, I was like, why don't we just take advantage of this? So we had Derek come down, and I gave him like the idea, and he just ran with it, and it was perfect.
That's what's up. So like, dude, whenever you look back, like let's go back 3 years ago, right, when you were on the podcast first. I mean, obviously you had these relationships, you know, that was already there, right? But you weren't like working like you are now. Like when you were looking ahead, I mean, is this what you pictured? Like, I mean, because when you're talking about Derek Minor and you're talking about Cannon and some of the other people that you've worked with, you're talking about top names, you know, in the Christian hip hop space. And I know you've branched out beyond Christian hip hop as well, but I mean, is that what you envisioned, or what did you think was, you know, your path was going to look like?
I would say I pretty much, like, I did expect it to be more CHH, but as I got up, I kind of learned how, I don't want to say closed off, but that's kind of how it is. Like the kind of people at the top, a lot of them are closed off. Like they're not looking for producers. They're not looking to collaborate with other people. So it's like, I kind of just naturally expanded and just kind of went a different direction. Because it's still like, I'm still tight with like a ton of people that I haven't worked with, but like, even for example, like Marty responds to almost every story I post on Instagram, and like I'm tight with a lot of people, even if we'll never work. It's just like, but yeah, it's definitely like I would have envisioned 3 years ago that I would have been more like, I'm involved in the CHH space, but I definitely wouldn't have foreseen that I would have expanded as much as I have in other lanes, like the lo-fi lane. And even at the time, like, I didn't even make boom bap beats back then. I only did trap. I remember telling people that. I was like, don't ask me to make boom bap. I don't do that. And then now that's like one of my main sounds.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Well, that's evolving, I guess we'll say. So, but yeah. And you talked about lo-fi. I want to hit on that. But before we move away from this, like, for Christian hip hop, like, who's still on your bucket list to work with? I mean, I'm assuming there's still a few names. You mentioned Marty. That would be an incredible collaboration because he's one of my favorites. But who do you have on your list that you're like, man, I still want to make sure I work with these guys when it comes to Christian hip hop?
Yeah. Definitely Marty. I feel like that'll happen eventually just because he's involved in the lo-fi space too. And he told me as soon as I have the right song to send it his way. But besides that, I mean, still Andy is up there. Still never worked with Andy. I've never even talked to Andy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
Hey, Andy's crazy. A cool dude, man. Like, I met him. I've never seen him perform. I was just telling Jeremy here, Jeremy Fleetwood, our social media and music submissions guy, this story. I was like, I've never seen Andy perform. Hopefully that's going to be happening. But I actually met him once, just really super randomly. Mm-hmm. Like, I was managing a Lids, and he came in one night, like there was nobody else there because it was raining. We were outdoor mall and stuff, and there, all of a sudden Andy Mineo walks into my store, and I'm like, "You're Andy?" He's like, "Yep." And so we sit there and talk for a while. It was super cool dude, man. Super cool.
Yeah, that's dope. He's definitely up near the top of the list. I don't really know if there's anyone else. Tadashi. I've always liked Tadashi. But yeah, I don't really think about it too much, just because I'm like, I definitely try to never force anything in the music industry, just because once you start forcing, that's when you start getting the bad outcomes. Like, I would never, like, if you're trying to force a song with an artist, that's usually when you get a song that doesn't turn out very well, or it doesn't feel natural. Like, you get that verse that they didn't really give their all, and they weren't really feeling the song, and you can kind of tell.
Yeah, man. Well, and one thing we've seen this past year is some of the like OGs of Christian hip hop, you know, kind of getting some shine and getting some recognition. And I mean, you've worked with KJ52 a lot. Is there any of the like kind of like founders of the genre out there that it'd be pretty cool if you got a chance to work with them? Any of those guys on that list?
I don't really know. I mean, I'm always working with KJ. And I'm always working with Brian T. I've produced I think half of Brian T's music over the past 2 years. It's a lot. Like, I remember, because he'll buy 10 beats or something, or sometimes 15 beats, and I'll be like, okay, so he's making a whole album of this. And then I look, and he puts out a 25 track album.
Wow, yeah.
And I'm just like, geez, crazy.
So speaking of that, man. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you talk.
Okay.
I was wrapping up the point.
All right, cool. Well, I was just going to say, speaking of selling beats to these artists, what have you found that really has worked? I mean, obviously you've been successful with this. If you're giving some advice to producers that are trying to really get themselves established, and maybe follow in the footsteps of a Poetics, what are you going to tell those guys? What's some best practices that you found that has worked well for you over the years to get you to where you are, as far as just that business side and doing the, selling those beats and selling that production?
Yeah, definitely. Be humble. Don't expect anything off the bat. You have to think of it like a resume. That's how I always think of it. And if you're just starting off, if you don't have anything on the resume, you're an 18-year-old looking for a job and you don't have anything on the resume, you gotta take what's given to you. You can't just become the CEO of Apple. As you expand and you get more experience and you have more recommendations, which would be placements with people, as you expand, you can charge more, and you can leverage it to get better payment and better placements and stuff like that. So it's definitely that, and when you're starting off, be easy to work with, be quick. So if someone hits you up and they want beats, be the guy that sends them in 5 minutes. Try to just be near your computer and be ready, because that's how you're going to take advantage of when an artist posts on their Instagram, hey, I need beats, send them here. If you're that quick guy that has them within 5 minutes, you're way more likely to get a placement. And also, just don't talk money right off the bat. If I hit up an artist and I don't have any following, or any big placements, and I hit up an artist hey man, I want to send beats, and they're like, okay, cool, here's the email, and then I send beats, but I follow up that by saying, just so you know, each beat is $400, and that will include exclusive rights, but I will expect 50% publishing, and this and this and this. Like, they just won't want to work with you because they're like, oh, this guy doesn't even care about working. He just cares about money. He just cares about his name and placements. He doesn't even like my music. He just wants a placement.
Right. And I think I've seen that conversation a lot kind of happening as far as, you know, the money side of stuff. And, you know, I've seen it on social media where people are kind of blasting, you know, that approach, you know, like you're saying a little bit, not saying that you're blasting it, you're giving out good advice here, but I guess, when did you know that you had got to a point, like, was there something that you saw or that someone told you to kind of just expect where, you know, maybe that switch happens a little bit where it's like, okay, now I'm in a place where the financial part of it is important. Like how does an upcoming producer kind of know when they've hit that point?
Yeah. Well, I want to say it was like the first 6 months that I was making beats. Like the first 3 months, I didn't send them anywhere. Like I was just trying to get better. And then after that, I didn't even sell beats. I just hit up artists and would send them for free. And I would tell them, I don't want any money. I don't want anything else. I just want you to tag me on Instagram. And I just want you to drop a song on my beat. And I got a Jerry Mana placement that way. I got a Surf Gang placement that way. I got my first KJ placement that way. So it definitely, like, if you're just upfront and you just say, like, I don't expect anything, you can, they see that as, okay, this guy just really wants to work with me. So I mean, yeah, there's just too many people that expect. I know people, producers that charge the same as me, and not to sound rude, but they have 1/10 the following on Instagram, and they don't have any released music on Spotify, so they don't have any leverage that way, where I can leverage with big artists. Hey, you can put me as an artist on Spotify and have access to my 400K monthly listeners, and I'll post it on Instagram to my 10,000 followers. And so that even helps leverage up my price. But I know artists that don't have any of that, and they don't have any placements, but they try to charge the same as me. And then they wonder why it's not working. And it's just like, you have to kind of understand where you're at in the business.
For sure. Well, and then, you know, something that goes along with that, you know, a conversation that I've seen is, do you have a set price, or do you ask an artist, well, what's your budget? Like what's your opinion on that debate? I personally don't really care, like, when it comes to asking people their budget. What I generally say that works the best for me is I have like a flat fee that I'll give them, but then I'll also say, like, I'll say the price, and then I'll say, but I'm flexible and can work with a budget. And I find that personally works better, because I'm giving them a general direction and basically saying, but I'll hook you up if you're ready to go. Yeah. Well, and I think that approach also shows that, you know, the financial side isn't the end all be all for you, that you do, you know, you do this because there is love there, right?
Yeah.
You know, not make it sappy or anything, but you know, I mean, for some people, the bottom line, everything is just dollars, right? It doesn't matter. And while I know that it's important for you because you're doing this full time now, right? I mean, you've been doing that for a minute, so you don't get to where you're full time in music for nothing, right? If you don't have some structure in place, you know, and you don't have that financial side, you know, figured out. But you gotta, I think when you let people know that you're approachable as well, you know, that makes a huge difference, not only for just drawing in new people. I mean, it speaks a lot to your character, which that goes a long way in this industry as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely, character can take you a long way in the industry. And if you're also, on another note, if you're doing bad business, it's going to get around. Like we all know the artists that people have paid for features and they took 6 months to get the feature,
or not at all, or
yeah, if you're doing bad business, whether that's as a producer or a feature, like it's just going to handicap your career. Like word gets around fast.
Definitely. So, man, we kind of went off on a different trail there. So I want to circle back around to just like what you got going. You talked about how the last time you were on the show, it was like nothing but trap beats, and now you're doing all kinds of stuff, and you're doing the boom bap, which I love. I mean, that's my happy place right there. But you're also heavy in lo-fi beats now. What took you down that path?
So, like, it was actually a while ago. I was on the road with this country band called Rehab, which one of my good friends from Christian hip hop is an artist named Jericho, and he is actually, I don't think he is in the band anymore, but he was in the band. So he took me on the road to like help engineer some sessions with them on the road for making some new music. And also I was doing merch and a few other things. So I was on the road with them, and I was just listening to lo-fi music in my free time just to unwind and chill on the bus. And I just loved it. And I got to the point where at the time I was working on a producer album, and I was just getting so frustrated with artists because they all had these weird expectations that I was just getting tired of. Like I would pay an artist for a feature or something, or they would hook me up with a feature, but then they didn't want to be on a song with this guy. Or like they would want to be on the song, but they would want a percentage of splits. But then another artist would hop the song, and that artist didn't want a percentage of splits. And it would just get so confusing. And people were weird about like, is this going to be put out as a single, or is this going to be on the project? Because I only want to do it if you're going to actually push it as a single. And it just got super weird and complicated. And I eventually just dropped it because I was like, I don't even want to release with artists anymore. So I got to the point where I was just like, basically like, screw it. I'm just going to try to release lo-fi beats and see how it does. And I'll just focus on selling beats to other artists in the meantime. Because, I mean, I wasn't doing, I think I had like 20K monthly listeners, which is good, but it's like not crazy,
Yeah.
like it's enough to be getting like a $30 check from DistroKid. But so then I did that, and I put out like some lo-fi stuff, and I got some dope connections. Like nothing really blew up. Like I had a song that got like 200K at the time, but that was also from me working it really hard. Like I was building with a lot of YouTube channels at the time, and SoundCloud pages, and DMing massive amounts of playlisters. Because one thing I always encourage people to do is when you release a song, go on Spotify and then search that style of music in Spotify, then go to the playlist tab and just find every playlist you can that has an email to contact or an Instagram to contact, and just hit them all up. That'll get you placements, like playlist placements, because there's a lot of independent curators that are looking for music, and they also want to actually connect with artists. They don't want to just search for the music themselves. It's usually a fan of music. They're not usually other artists.
Right.
I was just doing that for a long time, and then I kind of got back into releasing with people, and then from that I started doing more like the boom bap stuff just because it made more sense, and I was really enjoying just making chiller music. And then what actually happened was, I'm trying to think of when it was like July or August. I think it was August. I was releasing the lo-fi song Oblivion. I didn't have any time or money to put into any promotion or ads or anything. So I just released it, and I had like a legit like God moment with it where I was like, I'm not gonna push anything. I'm just gonna let him take over, and what happens happens. And then the song released, and right at midnight when it released, it hit the 2 biggest lo-fi playlists on Spotify, and it did like 40K first day or something. And it was just like, ever since then, I just kept releasing lo-fi beats, and they all got editorials. So yeah, it was definitely like a big moment for me, to where eventually I'm going to get a tattoo of the song.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's crazy.
So now not only is it producer extraordinaire, it's lo-fi producer extraordinaire, right? I mean, we got to make that clarification. So
yeah, bro.
No, like I mean,
but
like,
that helped leverage now to where I signed a management deal with Futuristic.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So yeah, he's my actual manager now. It helps me get producer opportunities, and a lot of stuff's helping because I'm able to leverage the fact that I am in a bunch of editorials and stuff to where I can work with bigger artists on songs.
Man, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. So yeah, okay, so that's an interesting thing right there, man. I mean, obviously whenever it comes to artists, you think about at what point do I need a manager, but I don't know if people necessarily think about that as much for a producer. Like what was that like getting to that point where you were like, I need some help here, and just that whole process? Like, I mean, how did you know right now is a good time for me to search for a manager, and just what did that look like as you were seeking out the right fit?
Yeah, I would say if you have to search for a manager, you don't need a manager, because that, like, if you're getting the right buzz, it's going to come around. And then you're going to get a better deal at that point anyways, because you have at the same point something to leverage. So at the time I had like 700,000 monthly listeners, and several big placements down the line that were coming out, because I had already got tight with Futuristic, and we had the collab song dropping, and then I had a song with Chris Rivers, who's Big Pun's son, and a few other big collabs dropping. So he hit me up and gave me the offer, and it just made so much sense because he lives here in Phoenix and he's connected with everybody. So yeah, it's definitely, I would recommend, because the way it worked for me was I got the lo-fi music popping off on its own, and I started to recognize, like, as I was hitting up artists, I would have beats ready, and soon as I could actually get them to respond, and check out the beats, they would hit me back. Sometimes that would take forever, but they would hit me back. And then at that point, they'd be like, man, these beats are crazy. I need these. And they'd like freak out over them because they really like the beats. And so then when I got tight with Futuristic and he gave me the offer of the management deal, I told him, I was like, literally all I just need is in the doors. Because at this point, if you can just get me in the door with artists, I know that I have the quality at this point to get the placement.
Well, and you've got, you've developed a wide range of production, just the sounds and the repertoire that you're able to do. Like, for someone who maybe doesn't know Poetics, like how do you describe yourself as a producer now? Because I mean, you're no longer this trap producer. You can do a wide variety of different kinds of production. So how would you describe yourself?
Versatile. When I first started, I was literally just trap. That was all I did. And now at this point, I've worked with country bands. I've worked with metal artists, like artists doing metal screamo rap. I've worked with R&B. I've worked with trap. I've worked with boom bap. I've worked with like lo-fi artists, like all kinds of stuff. And a lot of the time I hybrid all those sounds together. Like I'll do, that's part of the thing I've noticed now is being able to combine those are where you thrive. Like if you can combine boom bap elements with trap elements, like you have boom bap drums but trap hi-hats, or you can combine boom bap melodies, like 90s style sounding melodies, but with trap drums, like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then obviously you talked about some of these different artists that you've worked with, beyond the scope of Christian hip hop, right? Like whenever you first started working with these artists, were you nervous at all? Were you worried about like what the CHH community, how they were going to respond to, because CHH is very possessive, right? And they're like, I feel like it was like, Poetics is our guy, right? That's our producer. And, did that make you just kind of worry or feel uncomfortable or anything like that whenever, you were looking at working with these other producers or working with these other artists, There
was a level of that when I first started, but as it happened over time, I kind of recognized like I wasn't ever like the poster child. Like, for example, like it would be different at this point if OB branched out and worked with explicit artists, because he's the face of the Rapzilla critique show. And where I was never really quite like that. Like I was even when I was first starting out, like several years ago, like I was working with Juggalo rappers. Like I would share them on, like I wouldn't collaborate, but I would share the songs I would produce for them. And then eventually I just kind of, I never really felt like a sense of guilt or shame in any way, because it's not like I was doing negative music. Like it was still, for the most part, it was positive messages. So I didn't ever really feel like I was doing anything negative. So yeah, there was a little bit of a fear, but once I started to like step out, I kind of recognized like, oh wow, these people in this community didn't seem to ever really kind of care about my music. Like they listened to it, but I mean that's because I was collabing with ex artists that was also on this, and it was in the Rapzilla playlist, and it was in this, and that's the reason they were listening. It wasn't necessarily because of me. It was just I was in those places. So
what you're saying is you can work with a wide range of artists and still love Jesus, right? I mean,
yeah,
like,
facts.
And here's the thing: if there's anyone that says anything negative about Poetics, man, tell them to come and talk to me, okay? Because I might do like for real, getting to build just a relationship with you over these several years, man. Like, you know, that's something that I don't take for granted, and I know what's at your heart, you know. Man, you love music and you love Jesus. You know, and that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. And also I'll say, like, I try to, whenever I can, give back to the community. Like, I try to actively share artists in the community that I think are dope, and I try to give them opportunities. Like, I'll tell you right now, there's a reason why Alcott has been on a bunch of KJ52 songs recently.
It's not just because he's a super NF fan. He's gonna hate that I just said that. He's gonna hate that I just said that. But shout out to Alcott, man. Yeah,
I love that dude, and I look out for opportunities to connect people. That's one thing I'll say is even back in the day, Zay Hill, I got him connected with Cannon, I got him connected with KJ, and it was because I wanted to see him win. I wanted to just connect him with as many artists as I could, and I do that a bunch. Like, there's a lot I do behind the scenes. That KJ and Brian T did a song together. That's because I wanted to connect them.
Yeah, man. No, you got that servant's heart, man. I mean, you've done stuff even for us here at 520 in the past, you know, with a couple of the like challenges and stuff that we've, you know, put together, and man, super appreciative. And that's the thing, man. Like, the people who get to the places that you've gotten to so far in your career are the ones who are doing these things and not putting it out there, you know, with a spotlight on it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
Like you said, humble, right? Just go about your business, walk the path that God set you on, and let Him bless you for it, right? For that obedience. So
at the end of the day, I'm like, no matter what anyone will say in like my DMs or something, like, I know that I'm living in my purpose. That's what I say, is I'm like, I know where I'm supposed to be. So
100%.
Basically, no one can tell me any different.
100%. Once again, guys, on the phone line with me, it is Poetics. Man, I know we're kind of getting up close time-wise here, so I want to be respectful, but I want to make sure we talk about sync licensing for a minute. I know that's something that you've gotten involved with. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, I know you're working with Cannon and with Derek Minor on a lot of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So just talk about that for a minute. Like, how does sync come into play for producers? Like, I mean, that's a whole nother bag you can go after, right?
Yeah. There's different websites. I mean, I can't think of the names off top, but you can just Google them. There's basically like sync libraries that you can sign up to be a part of, and you can get your beats and music in there. Like, I know one guy that I was talking to recently. He's a producer. He doesn't have very many placements or anything, like, artist wise, but he's making bags off placements in TV shows. So he's got his beats on the behind the ESPN highlight reels, and he had beats in Tosh.0 in some of the compilations they do and stuff. So it's like it's a whole nother lane. Yeah, it's definitely, if you're not in on it yet, just Google sync website and just find a way to get in 2 or 3 of those, and you'll get stuff that looks crazy for your resume. Like, because you can charge more if you got TV and movie placements.
Right. Well, how did it come about for you? Like, what did that look like on getting Poetics involved with it? Was that something that you started seeking out, or did that come with kind of like with that connection with Derek and Cannon? Like how did that all come about?
That was pretty much all Derek and Doc, because that's one thing I'll say for sure about Doc and Derek and Cannon and all of RMG is they look for opportunities for everybody. Like they really do want to see everybody around them win. That's literally the project whole team winning. But yeah, that's huge, is the connection with Derek and Doc and Cannon. That was all started because of them. Like, for example, we had Cannon and I's newest song we did together, Knocked Out, was featured in a Logan Paul vlog. And then we had several songs shared by NFL teams and ESPN and all that stuff. And yeah, it's definitely something, if you're not into it yet, definitely look in Google and find out how you can. I personally don't really handle it myself, but
gotcha.
So I can't say much about it.
Yeah, for sure. But like, so okay, whenever you're going in and you know that, hey, what we're about to work on is meant for sync licensing, right? Do you have to approach that different as a producer? Do you look at it any different?
Oh, definitely.
So what's different for
you? It's definitely, it comes down to not what I like, because I will say there's several beats I made for syncs that I can't stand the beats, but I know it's what they want. So it's like when I'm doing something for a sync, I'm trying to remember the name of the song. There was a song I did. I actually rapped on the song too, but it was me, Derek, and Cannon.
Oh yeah.
And it was called Run Baby Run. It was a while ago, but that was specifically for syncs. And I could not stand that beat. But I knew the beat would work because it had the synth like line that sounded like it could be featured on NFL. And yeah, so you definitely got to put aside what you like to, but I mean, that's true for music in general too. Like I don't like country music personally, but I work with country artists, and when I do that, I have to make beats that I don't necessarily like.
Right.
Because I'm working with them and I'm supporting their vision.
So if you were throwing out a just kind of a best practice tip here for producers that are thinking about getting into sync, like what's that best practice look like for you, like as far as like the approach that they should be thinking about for making beats? Because I mean, it sounds like there is, you know, kind of a couple of specific things that they're going to be looking for.
Yeah. If you're trying to do like if you're trying to get into the sync game, there's definitely like a level of working with synths and brass and all that to, if you're trying to get in like the sports lane. But then there's also like the movie lane, like working songs for those kind of placements. So for example, when I was working with Derek on some stuff, it was all about like every song had to have like a scene. So you had to be like, okay, this is the scene. Like this type of song would fit the scene where the superhero in the movie has to choose between saving the girlfriend or saving the city. Or this is the scene where the drug addict in the movie is really hitting his rock bottom and has to drop everything and start over. So it's like it can't just be like, you can't just make a song called 100 and make like just the generic trap thing. But there's also like, if you're trying to get syncs and you're in the CHH lane, like you have to make it relatable for someone outside of CHH too.
Yeah.
Because if it's going to make it in a movie, it can't be like, you can't call it like Job or something, or like Jonah. and the chorus can't be like, I've been in the whale or something, because like it has to be able to hit the mainstream just as much. And you can do that without setting aside your beliefs, you know?
100%. So, man, good stuff there. So, what's next, man? We're hit, 2022. What are we looking at for Poetics, man? We're gonna get that rap album. You mentioned you threw some bars down on the one track. Are we gonna get a new one from you or what?
So there's gonna be lo-fi beats dropping every 2 to 3 weeks. I already have them scheduled through May. Like already in my Spotify and everything.
There you go.
And then I'm dropping a massive amount of collab songs with artists, and I got some huge names I can't announce yet. But yeah, just a lot of dope music, and a lot of getting to that next level quality wise.
There you go. And where do people follow and support, man?
Yeah, man. Prod by Poetics on everything. Hit me up. If you got a budget, come get a beat.
And then obviously you can find you on Spotify. Where else? For the music?
Spotify, YouTube, Google Music, Apple Music. Go listen to We Made It by me and Cannon. We've been promoting that project like crazy because we're super proud of it and we think it's a great project.
Yeah, man.
And the response has been amazing. Everybody I've talked to about it has said like, this is the best music we've heard from you. From me and Cannon. They've both said, and they've all said like, there's not a song on here I don't like. They're all cohesive. They're all like, the goal with the project was to not waste any time, like have it be cohesive, have there be no waste of instrumental, no waste of time, just quality. And yeah, we're super proud of what we got from that.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And we're proud of you here at 520. You know that, man. You know that it's all love and support over here. So we'll be, paying close attention as always to what's happening. We recently did an interview with Stowe, man. I think 2022 might be the right year for Poetics to get a website as well. Like, let's see if we make that happen.
Yeah, I'm actually about to get a website. I have a guy that is handling that for me right now. Perfect.
So be on the lookout for that as well. So, yeah, man. Well, dude, like I'm so glad you're able to, have some time to come back onto the podcast and update us on what's going on and give these tips for producers. Man, there's a lot of young dudes that are coming up, production wise. I'm excited about, man. I think this is the kind of stuff they need to hear because you always get a lot of artist tips floating around. Maybe not so much on the production side, and we need to try to fix that a little bit. So,
yeah, man.
Well, you know the deal, man. You're welcome back anytime. But I'm sure we'll be catching back up and at some point in the future and seeing what's going on. But thanks so much, dude, for just having the time to do this for this episode.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me, bro.
100%. Guys, make sure you go and you follow Poetics. Like you said, it is PROD Poetics So produced by Poetics.
Prod
by
Poetics.
Prodby Poetics. Sorry, I'm not the smartest man, but I know some things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're good, bro.
So make sure you go and you hit that up across social media. Follow him. You're gonna want to see what's happening from the homie Poetics all throughout the year and years to come, because there's big things on the horizon, no doubt. And again, shout out to the sponsor for this interview, the Bookkeeper 24/7. Check him out, btk247.com, as well as the rest of our episode sponsors. And we will catch you guys on the next podcast.